Welcome. In this video, I'm going to show us how to perform a correlation analysis. Right, so correlation analysis is kind of analysis that we tend to look at the relationship between two variables at a time. And that relationship is if there is a strong positive or a strong negative correlation. Mainly, we create scatter plot to check if there is a relationship, popularly known as correlation, between two variables. What do we mean? For different instances, we want to know if an increase in the total bill, or the bill as we have here, can affect the total tip. So for instance, we have different data points that says 200 naira was the total bill and the tip was 20 naira. So we have this point here. Now we can have more data points for different values. For example, 400 total bill and the tip is around 50 something. We have it here. And we end up having so many points for different instances. Now, what we try to look at in a scatter plot is a trend, a direction. For this, we have a trend line that looks something like this. What does it mean in a scatter plot? It means that when we have a value like this, we can predict the possible tip. We have a value at any point, we can predict the possible tip. That's what it means, right? So, and this is what we call a positive correlation. Why? Because a lower bill resulted to a lower tip, and a higher bill will always result to a higher tip. So it's called a positive correlation. So a negative correlation is when we have the visual looking like this. That means a low bill will result to a high tip, and a high bill will ultimately result to a low tip. This is a negative correlation, showing that the values are not in the same direction. That increase in one variable leads to a decrease in the other. Now, let's look at total bill and tips. These are the columns we have. Intuitively, before you perform correlation analysis, you must have a question you ask yourself, right? So, scientifically, you ask yourself this question. If people patronize a restaurant and then they end up paying certain bills, if the bills are high, do you think the tips will also be high? Or do you think if the bills are high, then the tips will be low? Intuitively, I would say, if I pay high amount as total bill, I'm likely to leave high amount as a tip. If I pay small amount as my total bill, I'm likely to also leave small amount as a tip. The first thing to do is to create a visual. The visual that helps us answer questions around correlation analysis. So which visual is suitable for that? We are going to create a scatter plot. A scatter plot will show us the trend. So I'll highlight this, I will insert, I'll go here, this is scatter plot, I just select. So we can see our scatter plot displayed here beautifully. So let's do some little editing. We can increase this, right? So I can just go to my normal formatting and just increase the size and also increase the size. So we can see. But our columns do not have labels. So we can insert labels to our columns so that we know which one is the tip and which one is the total bill. To do that, we just click here and then axis title we just select. So here is our tip. If you can see, the maximum tip is around 12 point something. So we say tip. And then this is our total bill. So the total bill, the maximum is around 60. So we have total bill. So that's how to label the column. Another important thing we can see is the trend. So we need a line to show us the trend. So we click here and just go to the trend line. Now my question here is, with our trend line, what do you think is the relationship? Is it a positive or a negative correlation? Based on the theory of correlation I explained in my other videos, you will now know that this is a positive correlation. But in correlation analysis, you're not only stopping at telling us if the correlation is positive or negative. No, you go a step further to tell us the exact figure. So the value that we need to know is a value that ranges from -1 to 1, right? How do we arrive at that value? Now, let me show us how to perform the correlation analysis proper. So if we go here, you go to your data. In my ribbon, you can see data analysis. It's unlikely to have it on your ribbon if you've not used Excel for such kind of analysis. So how do you see it on your ribbon? What you need to do, you click File, and then you go to Options. Under Options, you just select Add-ins, and then you click Go. Here, you now make sure that you select this Analysis Toolbox and then Analysis Tool Pack, right? You select Analysis Tool Pack, these two, and you just say OK. Once you do that, you're going to see that data analysis will be shown here. I have it already, so I don't need to do it over and over. So I'll select Data Analysis, and we're here. You choose the analysis you want to perform. Correlation. Select Correlation, and we'll click OK. Now it's going to ask us our input range. Remember, correlation is always between two variables. So our input range will include these two variables. We select it and highlight it downwards, like this. And the next thing, group by, is it column or row? We are grouped by column, right? We have our tips arranged in a column and our total bill also arranged in a column. So we leave it as column. But if we have it arranged in rows, we have to select that. So, and the next thing is label in first row. So that's the question. We scroll, yes, we included the label while highlighting it, so we are going to select this. Now our result, where do we want to see it? We want to see it in a new worksheet. We can output it within a range here in the same worksheet, or see it in a new worksheet. So for this exercise, I will leave it within a range here. I'll select output in a range, and then I will just select a point. I will select here, click here, and then you select the range. So I want to see my result starting from somewhere here. And that's all. We click OK. Now we have our result. So let me increase the font size so that we can see our result very well. Where is our correlation coefficient? This is it. We highlight it. So our correlation coefficient is 0.67. Now it's left for us to interpret. Of course, it's a positive correlation. If it was negative, we are going to see minus 0.676. But because it's a positive correlation, we are seeing no sign, which means it's positive. Now, the next thing is interpretation. Let's interpret this. Is it a high, is it a moderate, or is it a weak correlation? Right? So correlation can be strong, moderate, and weak. And based on the range explained, this correlation is a moderate correlation. So we are saying that there is a moderate correlation between total bill and tips, right? So the higher the total bill, the higher the tips will likely be. And that is our conclusion. I hope you enjoyed this correlation analysis. Thanks for watching.